Emma has oversees the day-to-day operation of Degrad, including product development, sales, the supply of bottles, recycling initiative, and her focus is ensuring Degrad delivers value to customers by offering sustainable solutions. She's also a key spokesperson and ambassador for the company. Welcome, Emma. It's a pleasure having you on this session. The topic on which Emma is going to talk about is sustainable manufacturing solutions. And she'll give us a real example of a circular economy business, which she runs, modeled on some fundamental principles right there in Dubai. Emma, it's a pleasure having you again. Please take us through your experience through this excellent case study, and look forward to asking some questions later on.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen, but thank you very much for having me, and I'm just going to run through my presentation now. Great. Well, as I say, we are going to show you a presentation about the circular economy and what we're doing here in the UAE to make that a reality. So just a really quick introduction. My name is Emma Barber. I'm the Managing Director of Degrad, and really my background is fashion retail. I moved to the GCC with my husband in 2006. My husband set Degrad up in 2010, and then I joined the business in 2017, really to help him drive the business, look at more sustainable options, and to help him with the marketing and education and awareness for recycling, which is really the kind of part of the business that I have my arms around. So just to introduce Degrad, as I mentioned, we established the head office here in Dubai in 2010. And we were expecting to have our PET processing plant up and running a couple of years ago, but what with COVID and one thing and another, we have had a slight delay, but we're very excited to be able to be up and running, hopefully by the end of September this year. So very, very shortly, and everything's being set up as we speak. So we're actually the only business in the UAE to offer a truly closed loop solution. And what I mean by that is that we do everything from the very beginning, where we educate and raise awareness for recycling through the Simply Bottles initiative that we set up, and we run that with schools and businesses. We then collect the plastic, which is not as easy as it may sound, and we recycle it. Once we've got the recycled plastic, we then turn that back into textile products. So the way that we're unique is that we actually offer businesses the opportunity to make a sustainable procurement decision. Many of the high street brands are actually selling recycled product. So for example, you could go into Nike or Adidas or Zara or H&M and buy a product that says I'm made from recycled bottles in the label. But what we're doing is we're offering businesses the opportunity to do that, not the end consumer. And because we're so proud of our yarn, we've actually trademarked it. It's called Greenspun, and we believe it stands for the best, highest quality eco fabric that's absolutely made from recycled plastic bottles. We have a whole we have a whole audit chain, and we are GRS certified. So I'm sure you all know this. I'm not going to labor the point, but here in the region, there's a lot of plastic. We're big water drinkers. In fact, we create the most amount of plastic in the region. And here at Degrad, whilst we're not advocates of using more plastic, what we say is there are 10 million plastic bottles being produced here in the UAE every day. Even if we could reduce that by 50%, which would be an enormous task, that would still be 5 million plastic water bottles that are produced every day. And something needs to be done about that. Because at the moment, almost none of that plastic is being recycled here in this region. And we know, just because we go out and we do cleanups on the land, in the desert and on the ocean, we know how much pollution there is. We also work with a local vet, so we understand how much this pollution is actually damaging the wildlife. The picture on the bottom right of my slide is actually the stomach, of the gastrolith of a baby camel. It's the full stomach content, and this camel died because it had ingested nylon, plastic, and all the things that it had eaten, that it actually then starved to death because it couldn't digest that waste material. Recycling is important because plastic was designed to be recycled. It was designed to meet a need, because the packaging solutions at that time were not sustainable, mainly being wood and glass, and they couldn't be sustained on their own. So plastic was actually designed so that it could be used over and over again. And our message is that we have to realize that plastic is a resource which has a value. It's not a waste material. It shouldn't be used once and thrown away. Of course, nothing should be used once and thrown away. But it's very important that people understand that plastic does have a value. And of course, by reusing plastic, we're saving natural resources, which is absolutely crucial and critical. I'm just going to give you a few facts. I've mentioned how heavy consumers the UAE residents are, and we're producing about twice the amount of waste per day compared to European residents. And the reason I've got a picture of a baby is because the average weight of a baby here in the UAE is about just over 2.5 kilos. So we're throwing away the weight of a baby every single day. We're generating 11 million tons of solid waste. I, for one, don't know what a ton looks like, so I put in the picture of the polar bear. A polar bear on average, apparently, according to Google search, weighs a ton. So we're throwing away 11 million equivalent polar bears every year in the UAE. Almost everything's going to landfill. We are doing our best here at Degrad to divert as much plastic as we can to stop that. But what we also have to remember is that plastic is actually only a small percentage of total waste, and PET is a small percentage of total plastic. So when we're talking about the plastic problem, we also need to think about actually, in terms of total waste, it is actually a small part of the problem. And something that's really important is that actually, before we throw things away, we really need to check whether they can be repaired, reused, or recycled. And in very many cases, all of the above are true. And I just want to reiterate Professor Greening's comment about changing behaviour. It's human behaviour that's the problem. It's not the fault of plastic that it gets thrown away. It's the fault of humans being lazy and not recycling. I also want to just talk about some of the benefits of plastic. When it's compared to other kinds of packaging, in 99% of cases, plastic is the greenest option when it's recycled. And this is because it's lightweight, so it's a low carbon footprint packaging solution, especially compared to glass and aluminium. It's very low cost and energy efficient to produce it. We're just producing far too much and not reusing it. Plastic is hygienic and it's non-toxic. There's no health authority in the world that has banned the use of PET plastic. And PET does not contain BPAs, which some people believe it does. BPAs are the toxins that apparently cause some kind of issues with human tissue. But PET does not contain that. Plastic is safe, it doesn't shatter, and so it's safe to use in hotel rooms and those sorts of environments, schools and things like that. And just to bang the drum again, it was invented to be recycled. And I've put this slide in because I think it gives a really great overview. When people talk about changing their plastic bottles to glass or even to paper, paper's not on here, but plastic is far more green than glass or aluminium, both in terms of the energy it takes to produce and the weight, the waste that it then produces, and also in its greenhouse gases. I won't go through the numbers on the slide, but it's very clear. The bottom line is the plastic, and in every way, the metric is lower than the other two packaging solutions. I want to talk to you about textile industry for two reasons. Firstly, because I was a part of it for almost my entire career. And secondly, because now in Degrad, we're very much focused on textiles. Whilst we do collect and recycle plastic, we do really think of ourselves as being a textile company. So the problem with the textile industry is obviously the rise of cheap, fast fashion, which means that so much material and clothing is going to landfill every year. And a UK survey found respondents on average, and this is predominantly females, wore an item 7 times. But also the rise of Instagram has found that actually many times, very many people will only wear an item once because they've taken a picture of themselves, put it on their social page, and they don't feel that they can wear it again. So all of these clothes are just being thrown away. If the fashion industry was a country, it would be producing greenhouse gases more than the whole of Europe. And if we don't put a curb on what we're doing in the fashion industry, it will just continue to grow in terms of greenhouse gas emissions. We've got to have some disruptive technology. It's an absolute necessity, and this is what we're doing at Degrad. The circular economy is totally important, not just to Degrad, but to the world. We have to reuse resources. What we do in our process is we reuse the water that we're using in the process, we recycle it, and we also don't use any oil. So we're conserving a natural resource there. We have to protect the environment. Textiles are making up almost 30% of landfill around the world. And landfills actually aren't a great place for textiles because they never really decompose. A stat that I have found is that in India, if they continue to throw clothes away at the same rate they're doing now, by 2050, they'll need landfill bigger than the entire size of New Delhi, which is just crazy. There's also a massive demand for polyester. It's growing annually, partly because of population increases. There's more of us on the planet, we need more clothes, but also because cotton is a land and water hungry crop, which is also not very sustainable. Cotton also needs a lot of fertilizer and pesticide to grow well, to get a good crop from. So that's also not sustainable. So we believe that we can meet the need for polyester by just purely recycling plastic that's already in the system. So how do we create a circular economy? Well, we set up Simply Bottles to try and help people understand why recycling is important. This is really just education and awareness, and it increases the segregation and recycling rates of PET here in the region. We go into schools and we go into companies, we work at events where we talk to the public and we try and get them to put the right plastic into the right bin, and just raise awareness about the issues around plastic pollution and try and change people's behaviours, make them, really understand that if they do put the bottle in the right bin, it will be recycled. Because we're tangibly demonstrating that PET can be recycled into practical products. And as I say, we're not asking companies to buy anything they're not already buying. A lot of companies already buy uniforms or workwear or accessories or giveaways. And we're just saying to them, just make a sustainable procurement option. On the right, there's some of the items that we actually make. They're just some of the more popular items, but we have over 200 different kinds of fabrics and we can make pretty much anything that has a polyester content. I'm just going to touch quickly on Simply Bottles. I've kind of gone over this already, but it was so important for us to set up Simply Bottles to raise awareness. We're not all about just recycling and turning the plastic into something else. We really want to change people's behaviours, and we really want to try and nip in the bud the cynicism that there, especially in this region, people don't believe that plastic is being recycled. Why should I bother? It's just going to landfill. So we're really out there as a front face, just saying to people, make the effort and change your behaviour. We really are doing something with plastic. How do we do it? Once we've got our hands on the bottles, which we take them with the cap and the label, we wash and shred them into flake in our Abu Dhabi facility. Once we have the small flakes, they can be heated into a polyester fibre. Hollow fill fibre also has a use and is used very much now in stuffings and especially in furniture and modern cars. Almost all of them use recycled fibre. Once we have the fibre, what we do is we upstream it into our green spun yarn, which is 100% recycled polyester. Once we have the yarn, we can then turn it into textiles. It can be blended with cotton, with lycra, with all different kinds of other fabrics and made into different kinds of textiles. Compared to our conventional manufacturing, our process is actually very green. We use 20% less water, which we also recycle. We actually use 50% less energy than making conventional polyester. We produce 55% fewer carbon emissions. And as I mentioned before, we do not use any oil. This is a really, really important slide because we can't do this on our own. We've got so many stakeholders and partners in the region. Most of our support does come from the ministries and the government bodies. We have contacts and support from the Ministry of Climate Change and Environment, the Abu Dhabi Environment Agency, by municipality. And then, of course, bodies such as the KHDA, the schools body, support us very much. But not only that, we have all the people that buy product from us, so the businesses that we work with. We have to get the awareness out and increase personal responsibility by consumers, because they, at the end of the day, will be the people pushing for the companies that they're working with or buying from to provide the sustainable choice for them. So I think I'm just slightly ahead of my time. I hope that's okay. I want to say thank you very much for having me. I haven't covered everything, but I'd be very happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Emma. That was absolutely an enlightening presentation. I hadn't realized how much effort goes into what you're doing in terms of transformation and basically reusing plastics. But what's interesting, you made a number of comments. One is you are challenging the fashion industry in disruptive technology. Two, you are changing the minds of what plastic's all about and actually changing the use of plastic. And the third thing is that your model is actually could be scalable to other waste materials that could also be transformed in fabrics. So my question to you is, to what extent could you scale to a different source of material? Say, for example, if plastic starts reducing by 50%, as you said, would you then switch to another material to continue your journey in creating new fabrics and challenging the fashion industry?
At the moment, we can only make polyester from PET plastic because the PET already contains the polyester. So whilst we're absolute advocates of reduce, reuse, recycle, even if we could get people to reduce their plastic consumption by 50%, there would still be more than enough plastic available for us to turn into polyester yarn. So at the moment, I mean, we do not believe that we will need to look at other fabrications. What we do is we can blend our green spun polyester with other fabrics. So we can work with recycled cotton or other fabrics. Bamboo is really popular and has great capabilities as well. But right now, our focus is very much on PET.
Okay, so taking this model to a bigger picture, are you collaborating with producers of plastic bottles? Is there some collaboration where you say, look, I'm a continuation of your, because people are attacking you for using plastic, so they're trying to force you to change the material, but the evidence shows that it's not a bad material using, actually it's more positive if we can change the mindset. So if upstream they're producing plastics for consumers, downstream you are repurposing the plastic, isn't that is the case of creating a collaboration between you and the manufacturers?
Yes, I mean, that's absolutely key. And we've been working closely with the water bottling companies here in the UAE, who've been very supportive, both in terms of helping us sponsor our Simply Bottled Schools program. They also provide buy uniforms from us for their drivers and warehouse workers. And we do take off some of their scrap PET. We're very much focused on post-consumer recycling, but there is actually quite a lot of waste that comes out of the water bottling companies when they're making the plastic bottles. So we do take some post-industrial, but as a percentage, it's fairly small. But actually, to be honest, some of the water bottling companies here have been more proactive than others. We try and work with them all, but some have been far more supportive and a real pleasure to work with. And I just want to, say how important that they have been to getting Degrad to where it is today.
Okay. Emma, I've got one question from the audience here. I'll read it out to you. It goes like this. Given the clear negative effects on the environment, is fast fashion here to stay?
Well, there's a long answer and a short answer. It comes back to human behaviour and education, absolutely. I think there is a really strong groundswell and a movement towards making your clothes last longer and buying more expensive and better quality garments. Because when you buy a 99p t-shirt in a fast fashion retailer, you have to ask yourself, as the person that's made this, is it a sustainable way to actually, earn a living, let alone make a product?
Right.
I was listening to an article, a podcast. In 1960, the average spend on a pair of trousers that somebody would wear every day was equivalent to over £1,000. People wouldn't even spend £10 on a pair of trousers in some cases today. But in the 1960s, people would wear those trousers, for years and years and years. Now we're talking about people wearing things, 6 times or once. So I think it is important. We need to get the word out, and we need to be spending more money on our clothes.
Okay. And one final point, and to ask you, you talked about polyester versus cotton, and the fact that cotton is expensive to produce, but it's also many people are employed in the cotton industry, maybe diminishing. Are you in collision between the polyester and the cotton industry? Is that something that one should be concerned about?
I mean, the polyester industry is not new. It's been going for years, and there's a massive demand. There's like 11 billion tons of polyester being produced every year. It's enormous. So, I don't think what we're doing, what we would like to disrupt, we would like to swing the polyester industry into recycled polyester. I don't think there's any need to make polyester from scratch, from virgin materials. Why don't we just make all our polyester from recycled PET? That's what we're trying to do. I don't think we're trying to go up against the cotton industry. My point was really that there is a global demand for polyester, so our business is sustainable.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for clarification. I got one more question from a lady, and the question goes like this: is the fashion from this green spun expensive to the consumer, or does it work out to be cheaper?
We are a little bit more expensive because we have a fragmented supply chain. It really depends on the units and the volume. So depending on some of our customers, we are able to meet their target prices. As I say, we're mostly B2B. Having said that, we are the official licensees for Dubai Expo 2020, and we'll be doing the merchandise B2C for that. And our T-shirts will retail at the same price as a regular T-shirt would. So in general, we do tend to be a little bit more expensive, but not much. And we're hoping as our supply chain smooths out, we'll be able to bring those prices in line.
Okay, so you haven't reached your critical mass yet, basically. So once you reach your critical mass, the prices could come down to even cheaper than regular fashion. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we do say that, yes.
Great, excellent. Okay, look, we bang on time. I don't see any other questions, but the great questions. Thank you very much for asking them. No, I think I've asked everything. I'm sure you'll have more questions coming to the panel. So Emma, thank you very much for your presentation. It's really an eye-opener. I really appreciate it. And good luck with all the work you're doing, and continue the good work. And I hope that we will have a chance to meet again